People think that entrepreneurship is all about the business.
That's not true. Absolutely not true. Once you know yourself, who you are, what do you want, what you already know within yourself, you will definitely be successful. That I guarantee you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Personal Development for Entrepreneurs. This is me, Ikram, with my mentor and great friend, Dr. Venga. Today, we're going to be talking about an interesting topic as usual, and it's about how to handle your emotions. In today's world, I think many of us are dealing with a multitude of feedback loops at work, at home. Many of us wear different hats, and in the course of wearing all these different hats and receiving feedback loops in each hat that we wear, it's common and normal to receive or to feel very emotional or get very attached to some of the feedback we receive or some of the situations that happen to us. And it's very important that we learn how to respond to these situations or these feedback loops and not react. For that, I think Dr. Venga is a great person to expound on this topic, because on a personal level, he's helped me deal with this from being a very emotional person to becoming someone who responds as rationally as possible. Good evening, Dr. Venga.
Good evening, Ikram. I hope the Hari Raya was good to you, huh?
It was.
Okay. A lot of holidays in May, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
One of the things that I noticed is like letting the cage, birds in the cage just open and then suddenly they fly out like that, huh? People were just driving for the sake of driving, even doing a journey just to go 10 hours of driving, stay in the house for maybe a day and then drive all the way back again another 10 hours. Huh? Wow. Such a freedom, huh? Freedom. Moksha. Freedom, huh? I hope that everything is, has everything settled down?
It has. I think traffic in Kuala Lumpur seems to be back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
That is very heavy, and it looks like people are back to work. And
Okay, on this subject of emotion, Ikram, I mean, you hear commonly that's been talked about in the world today, especially in America, about mental health management.
Yep.
One of the biggest problems, even our governments recognizes it. I think the world recognizes that people have mental health issues. Now, you must be thinking, hey, what is mental health? No? Do I take 4 pills or what is it? No? Do I then take an X-ray, take an ECG? How? No? Mental health situation is what you are talking about. No? Humans don't know how to handle this thing. For easy reference, emotion, we don't know how to. But the first thing to remember is there is no, the Western world is unable, and I say this very strongly, the Western world is incapable of defining what is this emotion that humans are having. Then they try to explain it scientifically or in the medical sense, try to explain it. That's the best they can do. And the explanation is very strange. Huh? It says that emotion are mental states brought on by neuropsychological changes associated with thoughts, feeling, behavioral response, and a degree of pleasure or displeasure. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you understand by that? It's a whole lot of statement actually it means a lot of things, no? We've been trying to define this emotion for a very, very long time. Okay. The thing that I have to once again go back to the Indian civilization, no? That's why they created temples all over the place, no? Because they wanted human, whenever they have an emotional problem, to go to the temple and sit inside the temple. You know, in those days, there was no statue, nothing inside the temple. It's just like a hall.
Mm-hmm.
And people go there, sat down for about 20, 30, 40 minutes, just sat there and didn't speak to anyone and just remain in the place to remain calm and understand what he or she is going through in her head. Psychological management of oneself, if I may term a Western way of thinking about it. No, they created this space, and they actually built it for convenience, for just to go there. And so actually we don't know. Nobody can explain that. But what we know is the fact that we are emotional in everything. When does it start? Or where did it start? How did it come along? Are we born with it? We are born with it. That's for sure. When you and me were creating ourselves inside our mother's womb, we actually created this in the brain. And you know what? It is, as the word says, the neuropsychological changes that take place. You know? And how does this change take place? Because I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, and I touch. These senses trigger that. And automatically, Ikram, our response is we become a reptile. The reptilian brain takes over. It takes control of the entire body. And the neurocortex, which is above the reptilian thing, it still hasn't found a way.
Mm.
So that's why, that's one reason why I don't know whether you had a chance to look at when people get emotional, the X-ray taken of the whole person, you know, they've done experiment, will show you that the whole body, when a person is pleasant and happy, you know, it has a distinctly very light color tone throughout their body. When you are unhappy, the unhappiness is centered between the head and the heart, a little bit below that. And in your feet and all that. There's lots of this. I don't want to go into the details of that, no? But just remember that the body reaction is because of the reptilian brain that we have, which only knows one thing: defend, check. So that's why it's interesting that the Western world has described it as neuropsychology changes, psychological changes. You understand?
Yep.
And how does it come? Thoughts, feeling, behavior, and how you respond. But you're right. How we respond makes the difference. So therefore, one of the things that I think for the last 30, 40, 50 years, Lama, they've been trying to, psychologists have been trying very hard to write books on it. And then they came up with this concept called emotional intelligence. Okay. And guess what? The emotional intelligence part was actually picked up from Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that they looked into it and then was able to at least term it. They talk about the first word, no? Self-awareness. The first thing is you must become aware that you are emotionally upset.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you take that self-awareness alone, I created a formula which is right, goal, review. If you are emotionally aware, you are not aware of it in terms of what is it, why is it like that, how do I deal with it? It comes in a pictorial and lots of emotion and hurting you and paining. You got psychological pain and all that. But if you do my first thing is to sit down, is to write that emotion down. For one reason, clarify what is it that is making me feel like that. Why am I having this anger against Ikram? Why am I feeling this way? As you write, you define yourself. Two things happen. When you are doing that, the reptilian brain automatically feels, oh, I'm calmer. The body recognizes, I'm calmer. I got to think about it rationally. Such a simple thing, Ikram. Just writing down your thoughts, your emotion, how you feel. Immediately, the reptilian brain, instead of getting away to defend survival mode, it begins to relax. Then the neurocortex can help to define it, to respond to it. Such a simple word,
Yep.
Self-awareness, with another simple word called write your emotion down. Then when it clarifies, once it gets clarified, it becomes easier. So it's a simple thing, which is what I taught you. You know about that too, Ikram, and you're practicing that all the time. I hope many others also are. But a self-awareness of why you are feeling like that. It's not a message, it is a fact. No? And the Western psychologists have tried very hard. But you see, this is a Western perspective, because the Western perspective is 1 and 1 equals 2. Whereas the Eastern philosophy is, hey, it is purely a number. You got to look at it from different dimensions. There are 360 versions of this dimension. You got to look at it from different angle. That's Eastern philosophy.
Yep.
Or I would say Indian philosophy. The Indians are very good at emotional management, extremely good. You find that sometime when you go to India, a fellow is, that's why Winston Churchill called Gandhi fakir, naked fakir, he said, because he just wear a little bit of to hide his private part and a piece of cloth around him. Naked fakir. In other words, you see a lot of them, but then they won't behave like Gandhi. They put all kinds of powder on them and all that, and they walk around and you think he's a crazy fellow, but he's not. He's not. He realizes that he is in control of his emotion, and he actually couldn't care less what you think about me. This is the first thing, self-awareness. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ikram?
Being self-aware?
Meaning the way the yogis go around,
Yes.
powder all over the place and a little cloth hiding their private part and behaving like a madman with hair all growing all over the place. Have you seen that?
Yes.
It couldn't be bothered, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know why? Self-control. Very much so. Now, that's why the self-awareness part is the number one part. If you can take control of that, And my way of doing it is, hey, if I'm thinking of something that's emotionally hurting me, I will write it down. No? I must remember also at the same time, when I'm writing it down, that I'm also going to the past. It automatically, when I'm writing down, yeah, I'll think of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, what happened, that happened. All that will come in front, stand right in front of me. Oh, this guy can do this. So you write all that down to recapture it and then to see it from different perspective. That means you leave the item and stay away, stay far, and you are able to look down from the top, from the side, and say, well, and after you've seen it, put it away and never look at it again. So that's a first thing that I learned about writing. The power of writing immediately was able to at least manage the way I was thinking, the way I was feeling. You understand? Which is what exactly the psychologists are doing, and our own behavior. And then the way you respond, all that is part of it. The writing part of it, structured it very carefully. This is the first thing. Okay. The second thing that emotion immediately brings out is empathy. Do you know the meaning of empathy, don't you?
Yes.
What is it?
Empathy is being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Very good. Very well, easy. Very good. See, empathy. The moment we realize that, hey, I am feeling this way, how does the other person feel? And when you can recognize it, that other people's feeling also is extremely important. And then you again, go back to writing again, you are able to see things a little better.
Mm-hmm.
That's why one of the things that I did when I developed the V Planner or the system, I always say to people, hey, there is a place called personal. And then you can write everything down. It's yours. The more you write about yourself and the way you feel about others, and you'll realize that you are also empathetic. But be careful. While you understand people have issues, problem, but that you yourself don't get caught into it,
Yeah.
You must differentiate between your thinking and their thinking. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the second most important thing in at least trying to understand what is this emotion. The third thing is motivation. Now, Ikram, as I told you, we are born with it. Our own brain develops that emotion, and that's why you notice when a baby is born, I'm sure you have noticed it. The baby is born, and at first the baby, when it comes out, it's sort of it's in a different space altogether. It doesn't make any noise and all that, no? It doesn't. It doesn't come out crying. You know that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, thing is that somewhere along the line, it learned very quickly, that it was in a chamber like that, and suddenly there is something holding on and is bouncing. It's no more like that, but actually concrete. And then it makes some noise, It makes a kind of noise. Immediately people are all running around the baby, and it can see, it can see, you can probably have some shadows or moving on. It begins to learn, hey, if I do this, the people do that. If I make noise, somebody do that. A baby cry, 4 people come,
Correct.
So it learns it. It learns by itself. And that learning comes to this. So motivation is inside you. You can motivate yourself. Okay? And also you can demotivate yourself. So again, how do I know I'm motivating myself? What needs to be done? Okay, motivation, right?
Yep.
It's not so difficult, right? But I don't know whether people use this tool that they have. the self-motivation. Do you use that very often, Ikram?
Not very often. I don't
You
use it.
should, Ikram. Every day you need to self-motivate yourself. Okay? And there are...
How do you do that? How do you self-motivate?
By looking only at the things that are positive and getting rid of all those negative things that comes to you, no? Only think of the positive thing. And the positive things are the future. I'm feeling this way about this situation now. No, not now. It happened already. So right now, I'm trying to go back. No, I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. How do I feel if I go forward? That is to build yourself the ability to be able to manage and control what's going to happen into the future. And this is part of the planning process, no, Ikram? You know, I find it amazing that people don't even know how to plan what needs to be done tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, a week from now, you know, they don't do that. So if you are not motivated, you will not plan ahead. You will go back. Those who do not plan ahead, a week, a month, 2-3 months, those who are not doing that, they are not motivated to do it. They are remaining in what happened. They rely on their memory and they get caught in that past. Motivation is to sit down, plan, and plan it well. To say, no, I can't make it today. No, I'll do it another time. Right now, I got this to do. You know, that's part of the motivational thing. How do you develop that? Motivation is to remember that everything that comes to you is what has already happened. And right now, I'm in this space, which is the present. And this space, the present, is very small and it's moving all the time. So motivation is about telling us, hey, I can see it differently. Why am I looking at it in a negative way? I got to think about it in a positive. What about this? What about that? That is an inborn regulation that you do. Because remember, as a child, you moved and you shout a little bit, poor people came, right?
Correct.
When you are a boy, when you're a little boy running around and you were doing things, you did purposely things, they irritates people run to you, right?
Yeah.
Not to do that. So you had the motivation at that time. You have not lost it. It's there. What's holding you back? Your past memory.
Mm-hmm.
So there are the three things, self-awareness, empathy, and motivation. Okay. Now, having these three, Ikram,
Mm-hmm.
we can go into the next other area, 2 areas. Number 1, with this experience, knowledge, okay, about ourselves, about empathy, and our own motivation, we need to regulate it.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to regulate yourself. You shouldn't overdo it, underdo it. How do you regulate it? Every single individual will develop his own way of self-regulating it, overindulging, all that. How do you do that? Write down. If you know you're aware, if you know you have empathy, if you know you have motivation, what do you do next? I regulated myself. Meaning, how do I behave in this situation? I will not react, I will respond. That's regulating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you regulate it, how do you behave with your wife? How do you behave with your family? How do you behave in a work area, in a bigger gathering? All those are things that you regulate. Meaning you regulate yourself, your own behavior. What do I say? What word do I use? How do I approach this? Can I be rough with this? Should I be, show emotion? What do I do? You can regulate it. You can, isn't it?
Yes.
But you must become aware. You must be aware so that the reptilian brain is not in charge, but the neurocortex is in charge. But to do that, you must make that happen. You are the driver. You, meaning the person, you, Ikram. This is not your heart, your liver, your brain. It's you, the whole person. He's the driver. And if the car is going this way, that way, every way, something is not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what self-regulation is, a lot of things. But for the moment, just remember that you can regulate it. Instead of getting it overwhelmed and looking at the bad side of things, you can always respond in a better way and learn how to respond. This is not something that you buy a book and read and follow. No, you have to learn it yourself. You got to find a way to regulate your self-awareness, your empathy on people, on things, and also your motivation. That's the self-regulating part. And finally, socially, how you behave. See, this also is another. Socially, you see, you can take charge of your own self, but
Yep.
can you take charge of another person?
No.
Cannot, isn't it?
No.
More so when you're in a group, okay? You can only take charge of yourself, but you cannot take charge of what's around you. It is a different dimension altogether.
That's
So
right.
that skill to for some people is very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got to manage it well. If you go there, look, I won't talk to anybody, I'm going to remain silent. Why go there in the first place?
Correct.
But if you talk, you sometimes talk too much or you talk too little. You got to find a way. There's skills that you must learn. Can you buy a book and read it? Yeah, sure, you can read it. But if you don't do it yourself, you will never learn. What you got is information from the book, from the net, from the internet, all that is information. But to turn that information into your self-knowledge, you need to do it yourself. Once you do it, then it becomes your experience. So in short, Lana, all of what I'm talking about, awareness, empathy, motivation, self-regulation, social skill, all these 5 things, Ikram, you need to develop it yourself. It's not like going to a shop and buying a software, put it into a ear and turn it on, it'll go inside. Won't happen that way. You have to practice it, you got to do it. So coming back, that's what they say, emotional intelligence must be managed.
Yeah.
Who is the manager?
You.
Oh. So in a way, Ikram, our education, our family structure, where we came from, never taught us all of this. Never taught us. We forgot it. Our parents were probably struggling for survival. We are all migrant. We are all migrant. We came from somewhere, right?
Yep.
And our parents probably also struggled in their life. Okay, so they had no time to teach us all this, Perhaps where they came from, they forgot it also, So now we can, of course, after coming to this 22nd century, perhaps we should be the one taking the trouble to teach our children, our friends, and those adults too, and try to show them, hey, not in a very rough way, but in a very soft way, one-on-one, how to behave in a social environment, how to behave, self-regulate yourself. I don't know, I speak the truth. Only the truth will come out, this kind of thing, Everybody has an opinion, not that they are wrong, not that they are right, it's an opinion. You also have many opinions, but not that you are right, not that you are wrong. And sometimes, just a quick example. Suppose, like Ikram, you and I have a conversation. You talk about one political party you like and you say they are the best, and I talk about another political party that I think is the best. We know one another very well. But after the conversation, you will go away. Hey, why Venga is like that? Huh? I mean, can't he see that? Can't he see the goodness in this political party? Why is so dumb? Why is so stupid? Huh? What do you think I'll be doing?
Thinking the same.
Same thing, right? Emotion, no?
Yes.
And we make up that emotion. And if we can just realize, hey, I'm making up this emotion about somebody or something. Only thing is, what do? Hey, write down. Write down. And you know what, Ikram? Let me say this also, very important, finally. See, every single day, okay, if you just sit down and go through what you have done and review what you have done, either after each thing you have done, you review to find your emotional part of it, or at the end of the day, okay, where did you emotionally not do well? Emotionally, where you did well, and how do I make the situation better? Will that help or not?
It would.
So this review is about how to turn that part of us, which is thinking very negatively, into a more positive way of thinking about it. It's a whole process. You understand what I'm saying? Huh?
Yep.
Okay. Now, thing is, so what have I said? I've said also a few things. First of all, we must know about ourselves. Yes or no? First, we must know ourselves. Huh? Why we are reacting in this way, why we are saying this. We must know ourselves. If you think that I don't want to do that, then no point going forward. No? Okay. And that thing is, how do I then react or act? Okay. Do I react or do I respond? When I am stressed, do I react or do I respond? Okay. And thirdly, your physical well-being. Is that important or not, Ikram?
Yes, it is.
Is it very important or just important?
Very important.
So you understand that physically, you, regardless of age, you must be physically fit, because your physical fitness controls of all the things that I talked about: self-awareness, empathy, motivation, self-regulation, and social skill. Physical fitness. That's why exercise on a daily basis is such a crucial thing, Ikram. Have I said enough or not?
Yes.
Or is it too much?
No, I think you've covered it beautifully. Just to recap, what you've told us today is to become self-aware. That's the first step towards managing your emotions. To practice empathy next, and then to build self-motivation. So these three things, self-awareness, empathy, and self-motivation, helps you in managing your emotions. And then the process for managing emotions is to write, express yourself, download everything that you're feeling, and then to review on a regular basis. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. You see, and you know what, Ikram? Our emotional thing, our emotional response, or you can call it reaction, is very automated, you know. And the reason is because the only thing the reptilian brain knows is, hey, I'm going to die. I better fight back. An animal, can you talk to an animal?
No.
Reptilian brain, because it do not have the thinking power. Look at the reptilian way of the brain that is going around the Western world, you know? From the Second World War till now. You know? All the wars that has been fought in the last, what, 70 years? Who has initiated that? Huh? You understand? We are still a very reptile. Our way of thinking is still destroy, take, you know. I'm not being political, Ikram. Is anybody willing to sit down? Hey, let's talk about it, no? How can we solve the problem? No, I have a bigger gun than you. I have a bigger submarine than you. I have satellite zooming at you. Is that human? Reptile, defense, fight, take, you know. So we unfortunately, the West have influenced us to think in that way. And yet in the 16th, 17th century, the white people came and they were going to civilize all of us. Do me a favor, Lana. I think we were far more civilized. Okay. You understand that?
Yes. We have a few more, just 2 more minutes. Would you like to wrap up the topic today?
Yeah. Well, as I said, Lana, just understand yourself. Why are you emotional? Once you understand that, then what can you do to respond to the situation? What can you do? And the only way you can understand this better is to actually write down. Take time off. Now, the last thing I want to tell you before one of the things when you are emotionally upset, one quick thing. Remember the air that is around you. In case you're not aware, we are not even aware that air. Without air, you will die. Every breath of air that you take in contains 22% oxygen. When you breathe in and you breathe out, 22%. Okay, in goes 22%, out comes carbon dioxide. If you become aware of your breathing, take a deep breath, you will be able to manage your emotion. That I guarantee you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Lingga. And for our listeners, that wraps up our topic today, personal development for entrepreneurs. Our next episode is happening on July 6th, which is the first Wednesday in the month, as usual, at 8 p.m. Thanks again for joining us. I hope this today's subject will help you deal with your emotions in a way where you are responding to situations and not reacting to situations. Good night.
Good night. Good night.